Israel and Hamas are completing another hostage swap as part of the Gaza ceasefire deal. Agam Berger, who has already been handed to Red Cross officials, is one of 3 Israeli hostages to be released today. Arbel, Yehoud and Gadi are being freed, along with 5 Thai nationals. Meanwhile, Israel is expected to release 110 Palestinian prisoners, including 32 serving life sentences. Yehoud was originally set for release last week, but a dispute delayed her freedom. The ceasefire brokered by Qatar, Egypt and the US has held despite tensions. Meanwhile, freed hostage Amit Susana revealed that another captive, Liri Albag, saved her life by talking a Hamas militant out of killing her. With more hostage releases expected, the fate of those still in captivity remains uncertain. Joining us to discuss this story, first of all, we have our correspondent Aditya Wardwan. Aditya, I really want to get an understanding of the significance of the hostages who are being released today and the impact that it will have on the ceasefire deal.
Josh, these hostages that are being released by both the sides are part of the ceasefire deal, that has been agreed between the Israeli side and as well as the Hamas. So far, on the both sides, if we talk about this ceasefire deal, there have been disagreements on both the sides while receiving the releasing the hostages. Yesterday only we saw that Israel said that 8 hostages, some of the hostages who were in Hamas captivity have died in the captivity itself, and now the very next day 3 Israeli hostages are being released by Hamas. So it is a complex process. At the same time, both the sides are still holding negotiations so that all the phases of this all these hostages release phases of the hostages release can be successfully completed as agreed by both the parties. As far as the hostages are to be released. So it needs to be seen by when would all the Israeli hostages and as well as the Palestinian prisoners that are in custody of Israel will be released by both the sides, because since Donald Trump has taken over as the president, this process of releasing the hostages from on both the sides has speeden up quite significantly. So this needs to be seen, George, by when would the entire process be completed, and this will pave the way for peace on both the sides, and the refugee camps and the normal lifestyles of people on both the sides, be it in Gaza or in Israel, can once again begin. Yes, George, back to you in the studios.
Also joining us to discuss the latest development coming out of the Middle East is Lev Aran, who's a former coordinator of Israel-India Parliamentary Friendship League. He's joining us from Israel. Lev Aran, thank you for your time. There have been celebrations in Tel Aviv and across Israel with the news that these hostages are going to be freed, but in return, 110 Palestinian prisoners, 32 of them serving a life sentence. What's the feeling in Israel relating to that?
Of course, mixed feelings, because on one hand you have hostages, they did nothing wrong to anybody, they were abducted from their homes. On the other hand, you have murderers, and some of them are very proud of being murderers. So the feelings are mixed, but still it is more tilted to happiness that at last we see hostages that are coming back to Israel, and also happiness that as far as most Israelis are concerned, they see Donald Trump as a very important tool to force both Israel and Hamas continue negotiations also to the next step. Because this step, as nightmarish as it is still the easier one, because it is only a humanitarian stage. If Hamas have a citizen, they will get 30 prisoners and 50 for a soldier. But next step is the political step. It is much more complicated.
Yes, Lev Aran, talking about that next step, is there a fear that some of these people being released might come back to haunt Israel, whether that's through an attack with Hamas or causing further issues across the border?
This is a question to me?
Yes, please.
Okay. Look, the reason why it is so complicated is because both Israel and Hamas, they're not the only players. You have Qatar, you have Saudi Arabia, you have Egypt, and now Donald Trump spoke about some Palestinians who will immigrate to Jordan. So it is so complex, and we have a government in Israel that cannot really take unpopular decisions. And if Hamas will become again the ruler of Gaza, not even de jure, even de facto, it will be a huge blow to Netanyahu. So the next step is very, very complicated, and we are all banking on Donald Trump to force both sides to have some kind of agreement, and then we will have a long ceasefire.
Also joining us is Gautam Mukherjee, a senior journalist. Gautam Mukherjee, thank you for your time. It seems today that the hostage release and incoming exchange is going to plan. Can this provide any security and any sort of positive feeling about further hostage releases and then moving forward, potentially a deal after the 3 phases are completed as part of this deal?
Well, I think the hostage release is going reasonably smoothly. Knowing the names, the Hamas keeps changing the names of the people who are to be released. However, they are releasing them at a steady rate as agreed, and vice versa. The Palestinians who are being released are being sent back. So this part of it is going rather well. However, I agree with our Israeli friend here that the political side of it requires Hamas no longer to be running the administration of Gaza, and whoever substitutes them should not have any military ambitions, because otherwise you just change the label and the situation doesn't get any better. The key thing, as I've said before on your program, is to prevent or negotiate a settlement with Iran so that they stop supplying money, arms, equipment, ammunition, training to the Gaza people, who then either become Hamas or they become a militant of another name, and the situation doesn't improve. Trump's idea of moving a lot of people to Egypt and Jordan is audacious as usual. Whether Egypt has tried this in the past long ago, and it caused them a lot of grief, because when you bring in a lot of radicals, your own country is disturbed. And the same applies to Jordan, whose first reaction has been, I've already got millions of Palestinians, I don't need more. So where do these people go? If they have to stay there, you really have to work on the back end. It's not so much the front end. These people are radicalized by professional people who come in and radicalize them and the entire support structure, including women and children. So it's the back end that needs to be negotiated and neutralized.